They thought sending a cruel text on Thanksgiving would make me beg for their attention. They were wrong. That text didn't get them distance. It got them disinherited. Watch how I replaced my ungrateful kids with a bulldog. It was Thursday, November 28th, Thanksgiving Day, and the sky over Mercer Island was the color of a bruised plum. The rain was not falling. It was driving sideways, sleeting against the panoramic windows of my living room, blurring the view of Lake Washington until it looked like a gray smudge on a gray canvas. My name is Lorraine Washington. I am 62 years old. I spent 30 years as a pediatrician, listening to the heartbeats of other people's children, soothing fevers, and stitching up scraped knees. I was good at it. I was steady. But as I stood in my kitchen that morning, wiping a smudge of flour from the granite countertop, my own hands were trembling. I had been cooking for 3 days. The house smelled like a memory. It smelled of smoked turkey legs simmering in a pot of collard greens, the way my grandmother used to make them in Georgia. It smelled of sage and cornbread dressing. It smelled of the sweet potato pies cooling on the rack, their crusts flaky and golden, just the way my son, Marcus, liked them. And on the stove, the macaroni and cheese was bubbling. Made with the 4 expensive cheeses my daughter, Alicia, insisted were the only ones worth eating. I had set the table for 3. I used the good china, the Lenox with the gold rim that we usually only brought out for Christmas. I polished the Baccarat crystal wine glasses until they sparkled under the chandelier. I folded the linen napkins into intricate swans. I looked at the clock. It was 11:30 in the morning. They promised they would be here by noon. Please, I whispered to the empty room, please let this year be different. My husband, Franklin, passed away 4 years ago. He was a good man, a strong man who built a construction firm from the ground up so that we could live in this house, on this island, surrounded by tech billionaires and old money. When he died, the silence he left behind was deafening. But my children were supposed to fill it. Marcus is 32. He is a venture capitalist in San Francisco. He talks fast, walks faster, and always looks at his watch when I am speaking. Alicia is 29. She lives in New York City. She calls herself a philanthropist, which mostly seems to involve wearing gowns to galas and charging the tickets to the credit card I pay for. They had not been home in 11 months. I checked my phone. No messages. I told myself it was the weather. I told myself the flight from SeaTac Airport to the island took time. I told myself they were stopping to buy flowers, or maybe a bottle of wine, or just to take a breath before seeing their mother. I checked the turkey. It was perfect. I checked the greens. They were tender. At 11:55, my phone buzzed on the counter. My heart leaped. I grabbed it, my fingers slick with butter. It was a notification from the group chat titled Washington Family. I smiled. They were probably texting to say they were turning into the driveway. I wiped my hands on my apron and unlocked the screen. It was a long message. It was from Marcus, but Alicia was tagged in it. I read the first line, and the smile slid off my face like wax melting near a flame. "Mom," it began, "we have been talking, and we think it is best if we do not come today." I gripped the edge of the counter. Not coming? But the food. The flight. I kept reading. Honestly, coming home is draining for us. You are always asking when we are going to visit next, or why we do not call enough. It feels like pressure. We are adults. We have our own lives. We have decided that for our mental health, we need distance from you. Distance. Please stop contacting us completely. Do not call. Do not text. Do not email. We will reach out when we are ready to re-engage. If you respect us, you will give us this space. Happy Thanksgiving. I stared at the screen. The words swam before my eyes. Draining. Pressure. Stop contacting us completely. I did not drop the phone. I set it down, very gently, next to the sweet potato pies. I looked at the table set for 3. I looked at the wine glasses waiting to be filled. I looked at the massive turkey that could feed a family of 12, sitting there golden and useless. They were not coming. They were never coming. And they did not even have the decency to call. They sent a text message. A text message to the woman who labored for 36 hours to bring them into this world. A text message to the woman who paid for their prep schools, their Ivy League degrees, their down payments, and their mistakes. If you have ever poured your heart and soul into someone who treats you like an inconvenience, if you have ever been discarded by the very people you sacrificed everything for, hit that like button right now. Let's show the world that a mother's love is not a weakness to be exploited. I stood in the kitchen for a long time. The rain battered the glass. The house creaked. I did not cry. I think I was too shocked to cry. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and turned off a switch. I walked to the dining room. I sat at the head of the table. I served myself a plate of food. I put a scoop of greens, a slice of turkey, and a square of macaroni on the fine china. I poured myself a glass of water. I ate in silence. The food was delicious. It was the best meal I had ever cooked, and it tasted like ash in my mouth. When I was finished, I did not call them. I did not text back and beg. I did not ask why. I stood up. I cleared the table. I took the food, hundreds of dollars worth of organic, lovingly prepared food, and I packed it into plastic containers. I put them in the freezer. Then, I went to the living room and sat in the dark, watching the storm rage over the lake. They wanted distance. I would give them distance. The next morning, Friday, November 29th, I woke up with a headache and a house that felt like a tomb. The silence was not just quiet, it was heavy. It pressed against my eardrums. I made coffee. I walked through the pristine, white hallway. I looked at the photos on the wall. Marcus at graduation. Alicia at her debutante ball. They were smiling, beautiful, and expensive. I took the photos down. I laid them face down on the console table. I could not stay in the house. The silence was going to kill me. I grabbed my keys and drove. I did not know where I was going. I just drove. I crossed the bridge off Mercer Island, heading towards Bellevue. I drove past the malls where people were fighting over Black Friday deals. I drove past the restaurants where families were eating leftover turkey pancakes. I ended up in a scruffy industrial park on the edge of town. There was a low, concrete building with a sign that read, King County Animal Shelter. I had never owned a dog. Franklin was allergic, and the children were too busy for pets. Alicia hated fur on her clothes. Marcus said dogs were a liability. I parked the car. I walked inside. The smell hit me first, bleach and wet fur. The sound hit me second, a cacophony of barking, yipping, and howling. A young woman at the front desk looked up. She looked tired. "Can I help you, ma'am?" I am just looking," I said, clutching my purse. "Adoptions are in the back," she said, pointing. "We are at capacity. Lots of drop-offs after the holidays." I walked down the rows of cages. There were so many eyes. Jumping dogs, barking dogs, puppies pressing their noses against the chain link. They all wanted to be seen. They all wanted to be chosen. And then I saw him. He was in the last cage on the left. He was not jumping. He was not barking. He was lying on a concrete floor, facing the wall. He was an English bulldog, thick and squat, with rolls of skin that looked like they were melting off his body. He let out a loud, wet snore. "That is Barnaby," a voice said behind me. I turned. It was a young volunteer with a name tag that read, Jessica. "He is. Interesting," I said. Jessica sighed. "He is a hard sell. He is 7 years old. His owners surrendered him yesterday because they are moving to a condo that does not allow pets. He snores, he has gas, and he drools. Most people walk right past him." I looked back at Barnaby. He turned his head slowly. He looked at me with deep, soulful brown eyes that were rimmed with red. He looked exhausted. He looked like he had given his best years to someone who decided he was no longer convenient. He looked exactly how I felt. "Can I meet him?" I asked. Jessica looked surprised. "Really?" "He is. Well, he is a lot of dog. I have a lot of room," I said. She opened the cage. Barnaby waddled out. He did not jump on me. He walked over to my expensive Italian leather boots, sniffed them once, and then sat down on my foot. He leaned his heavy, warm weight against my leg and let out a long sigh. I reached down and touched his head. His fur was coarse. He smelled like corn chips and old blankets. "He likes you," Jessica said softly. He usually ignores people. I looked at this creature, this unwanted, discarded, messy creature. My children were perfect. They were beautiful, educated, and successful, and they had thrown me away via text message. This dog was a mess, and he was leaning on me like I was the only thing holding him up. "I will take him," I said. "Are you sure?" Jessica asked. "He has some medical needs. He needs special food. He needs his wrinkles cleaned." "I was a doctor," I said. "I can handle wrinkles." I filled out the paperwork. I paid the adoption fee, which was $40 less than the cost of the wine Alicia liked. I bought a leash, a bowl, and a bag of expensive food. I led Barnaby to my pristine Mercedes sedan. I lifted his heavy, 45-pound body onto the beige leather seat. He drooled immediately on the upholstery. I did not care. We drove back to Mercer Island. The rain had stopped, leaving the world wet and gray. When we got inside the house, Barnaby waddled into the living room. He looked around at the white carpets, the glass tables, the abstract art. He looked at the white velvet sofa that Alicia had picked out, the sofa she had screamed at me for sitting on with blue jeans once because it might stain. Barnaby walked over to that sofa. He looked at me. "Go ahead," I whispered. He climbed up. It was a struggle, his back legs scrambling, but he made it. He circled 3 times, digging his claws into the expensive fabric. Then, with a grunt of pure satisfaction, he collapsed right in the center of the cushions. He was muddy. He was drooling. I walked over and sat down next to him. I ruined the aesthetic. I ruined the perfection. Barnaby rested his heavy chin on my thigh. He looked up at me and licked my hand. It was sloppy and gross, and the most honest thing that had happened to me in years. The silence of the house was broken by the sound of his rhythmic, rattling snore. If you are tired of people who only call you when they need something, if you are ready to give your love to those who actually appreciate it, even if they have 4 legs, hit that subscribe button. Because what I did next with Barnaby, well, let's just say Marcus and Alicia were not going to like it. I stroked the dog's head. "You are home, Barnaby," I said to the sleeping dog. "And unlike them, you can stay." The winter months in Seattle are long, dark, and wet. But for the first time in 4 years, my house was not cold. It was filled with the rhythmic, heavy breathing of a 45-pound English bulldog and the chaotic joy of having a creature who thought I was the center of the universe. Barnaby was not an easy dog. Jessica, the volunteer at the shelter, had been right. He was stubborn. He had a digestive system that could clear a room in 30 seconds. He snored so loudly that I had to start wearing earplugs. But he was also fiercely, unashamedly loyal. If I went to the kitchen to get water, he waddled behind me. If I sat in the library to read, he slept on my feet. He did not care about my bank account. He did not care about my social standing. He just wanted to be near me. However, lifting a 45-pound bulldog into my SUV for vet appointments was wreaking havoc on my lower back. By January, I knew I needed help. I could not ask Marcus or Alicia, obviously. They were still enjoying their distance. So, I called the shelter. I asked if they knew anyone looking for extra work as a dog walker. That was how Jessica Miller walked into my life. She arrived on a Tuesday afternoon in a coat that was too thin for the 30-degree weather and boots that had been resold at least twice. She was 23 years old, a veterinary student at the University of Washington, and she looked like she had not slept in a week. "Mrs. Washington?" she asked, shivering on my porch. "I am Jessica. From the shelter? We met when you adopted Barnaby." "I remember," I said, opening the door wide. "Come in out of the cold, child." Jessica stepped into the foyer. She stopped dead, her eyes widening as she took in the marble floors, the dual staircase, and the chandelier. Most people, when they enter my house, look at the wealth with greed. They start calculating what it cost. Jessica just looked down at her muddy boots and panicked. "Oh no," she whispered. "I am going to ruin your floors. I should take these off." "The floors can be cleaned," I said. "Barnaby is in the kitchen. He heard your voice." Sure enough, Barnaby came barreling down the hallway, or as much as a bulldog can barrel his tail, wagging his entire back half. He slammed into Jessica's legs, making a sound that was half bark, half squeal. Jessica dropped to her knees. She didn't care about her wet coat. She buried her face in his neck. "Hi, buddy," she cooed. "Look at you. You look so good. You gained weight." She looked up at me, her face glowing. "Mrs. Washington, he looks amazing. His skin is clearing up. His eyes are bright. You are working miracles. It is amazing what good food and love will do," I said. Jessica became a fixture in my weeks. She came every day at 3 o'clock to walk Barnaby, but soon the walks turned into tea, and tea turned into dinners. I learned about her life. She was working 3 jobs, the shelter, a coffee shop, and walking dogs just to pay her tuition. Her parents had passed away when she was a teenager. She had no safety net. She was one bad grade or one car breakdown away from losing everything. Yet, she never complained. She never asked me for a dime. In fact, she tried to do extra work to earn her pay. One afternoon in March, I came into the kitchen to find her standing on a chair, changing a burnt-out light bulb in the recessed ceiling fixture. "Jessica, get down from there," I scolded. "I have a maintenance service for that." "It is just a bulb, Mrs. Washington," she said, hopping down. "I noticed it was flickering last week. I did not want you to trip in the dark." I stared at her. My son, Marcus, had visited 6 months ago. He had noticed a leaking faucet in the guest bathroom. Instead of fixing it, he told me I should really get that looked at because the dripping noise was annoying him. Here was a girl who barely knew me, standing on a chair to make sure I was safe. Meanwhile, I watched my children from the digital shadows. "Distance," they said. I respected it. I did not call, I did not text, but a mother always watches. I created a generic Instagram account with a fake name so I could see their public posts. In December, Marcus posted a photo from Aspen. He was wearing a ski suit that cost $2,000. The caption read, "Elevation and Isolation." Clearing my head. In February, Alicia posted from a charity gala in the Hamptons. She was wearing a red gown. She held a glass of champagne, laughing with a group of strangers. Caption: "Chosen family is the best family. Chosen family." The words cut me deeper than any knife. They were celebrating their freedom from me. They were spending the money I had given them, the trust fund distributions, the gifts, to live lavishly, while ignoring the woman who made it possible. They looked happy. They looked unbothered. They did not look like children missing their mother. They looked like parasites who had successfully detached from the host and were now digesting their meal. If you have ever realized that you were just a wallet to the people you loved, if you know the stinging pain of seeing your children live it up while you sit alone, hit that like button. Let us show them that ATM machines do not have hearts, but mothers do. By April, the rain in Seattle had turned to a soft, constant drizzle. The cherry blossoms were blooming on the University of Washington campus, but Jessica was not smiling. She came over on a Thursday, looking paler than usual. She walked Barnaby, but she was quiet. When she came back in, she sat at the kitchen table and put her head in her hands. "Jessica?" I asked, placing a mug of chamomile tea in front of her. "What is wrong?" She looked up. Her eyes were red. "I have to drop out," she whispered. "What?" I sat down opposite her. "Why? You are top of your class." "It is the tuition," she said, her voice cracking. "They raised the fees for the clinical rotation. I am short $5,000 for this semester. I applied for another loan, but I was denied because I do not have a cosigner. I picked up extra shifts at the coffee shop, but it is not enough." She wiped her eyes furiously. "I am sorry. I shouldn't be burdening you with this. I wanted to be a vet so bad." $5,000. Marcus spent $5,000 on a table at a club in Vegas for his birthday last year. I saw the receipt because he accidentally used my card on file. Alicia spent $5,000 on a handbag she carried twice. And here was this girl, about to lose her future over $5,000. "Drink your tea," I said firmly. "It will work out." "I don't see how," she sniffled. I did not offer to write her a check right there. I knew Jessica. She was proud. She would have refused it, or she would have felt indebted to me. I did not want to buy her affection. I wanted to solve the problem. That afternoon, after Jessica left, I drove to the law offices of Friedman and Associates in downtown Seattle. Mr. Friedman has been my estate attorney for 20 years. He is a short, balding man with a mind like a steel trap and a sense of humor dry enough to start a brush fire. "Lorraine," he said, ushering me into his office. "To what do I owe the pleasure? Did the children finally call?" "No," I said, sitting down in the leather chair. "And they are not going to." "I see," Friedman said. He leaned back. "So why are we here?" "I want to restructure my estate," I said. "Completely." Friedman raised an eyebrow. "Define completely." "I want to sell the house on Mercer Island," I said. "It is too big. It is full of ghosts. I want to buy a condo downtown. Something secure. Something small." "Okay." Friedman nodded. "That makes sense. And the proceeds?" "The proceeds," I said, "along with my investment accounts, my life insurance, and my savings. I want to put them into a trust." "A trust for Marcus and Alicia?" he asked. "No," I said. "A trust for Barnaby." Friedman froze. He stared at me for a long moment. Then a slow grin spread across his face. "A pet trust," he said. "Washington State Law. Revised Code 11.118. Valid and enforceable." "I want it ironclad, Arthur," I said. "I want the beneficiaries to be Barnaby and his appointed caregiver. I want the trustee to be someone I trust implicitly. And I want my children to receive exactly what they asked for." "Distance," Friedman finished for me. "0, I corrected. "Not a penny. I want a clause that states if they contest the will, they are acknowledging that they violated their own request for estrangement." Friedman began typing. "Who is the caregiver?" "Jessica Miller," I said. "She is a veterinary student. She loves that dog more than my children love me." "And the trustee?" "You," I said. "I want you to manage it. Pay Jessica a salary. Pay for her education. Pay for Barnaby's food, his vet bills, his massages if he wants them. And when Barnaby passes, the remainder goes to Jessica, provided she finishes her degree." Friedman stopped typing. He looked at me with genuine respect. "Lorraine, this is diabolical." "It is justice," I said. "Oh, and Arthur? One more thing." "Yes?" "I need you to contact the bursar's office at the University of Washington Veterinary School. I want to pay off a student's balance anonymously. Today." When I left Friedman's office, I felt lighter than I had in years. I drove home, blasting Aretha Franklin. The next day, Jessica came to walk Barnaby. She burst through the door, tears streaming down her face. "Mrs. Washington!" she screamed. "You will not believe it." "What happened?" I asked, feigning ignorance while Barnaby chewed on his toy. "The school," she gasped. "Someone paid it. I got an email saying my balance was 0. 0. They said it was an anonymous donor. I can stay. I can finish the semester." She hugged me. She smelled like rain and cheap shampoo and pure gratitude. I hugged her back, feeling the warmth of a child who actually needed me, not my wallet. "I am so happy for you, Jessica," I whispered. "I am going to be a vet," she sobbed. "I am going to save animals like Barnaby." "Yes," I said. "You are." 2 weeks later, the for sale sign went up on the lawn of the Mercer Island estate. It was a tasteful sign, discreet. But on Mercer Island, nothing stays secret. The listing went live on the luxury real estate sites at 9 o'clock in the morning. At 9:15, my phone buzzed. It was not a notification from a game. It was not a weather alert. It was a text message. "Mom?" It was Marcus. Then, a second later. "Mom, are you okay? I saw the house is listed. Call me immediately." Then, Alicia. "Mom, why is the house for sale? Is everything all right? We are worried." I looked at the phone. I looked at Barnaby, who was snoring on the rug. I looked at Jessica, who was studying her anatomy textbook at the kitchen table. They were worried. Not about me. They were worried about the $6 million asset that was their inheritance. They were worried the bank was closed. I picked up the phone. I did not text back. I turned it over and placed it face down on the table. Let them panic. Let them wonder. They wanted distance. I was just about to close the gap on my terms. It was exactly 365 days since I received the text message that broke my heart, and ironically, it was the first time my children had decided to visit me. The timing, of course, was not a coincidence. 2 days ago, the sale of the Mercer Island estate had closed. The final sale price was $6,200,000. The deed had been recorded publicly, and in the digital age, nothing screams louder to estranged children than a multi-million-dollar liquidity event. I had moved into a penthouse condo in downtown Seattle. It was sleek, modern, and secure, a fortress of glass and steel overlooking the Puget Sound. It was smaller than the estate, easier on my knees, and frankly, far more stylish. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the doorman buzzed up. "Mrs. Washington," he said, "your son and daughter are here. They say it is an emergency." "Send them up," I said calmly. I was sitting in my living room. I was wearing a cream-colored cashmere sweater and comfortable slacks. Mr. Friedman was sitting opposite me, looking sharp in his navy suit, a thick leather briefcase resting on his knees. And sleeping soundly on a velvet ottoman between us was Barnaby. He was wearing a new collar today, a custom leather piece studded with real Swarovski crystals. He looked ridiculous. He looked magnificent. The elevator doors opened directly into the foyer. Marcus and Alicia practically fell into the room. They looked frantic. Marcus was sweating, his tie loosened. Alicia looked pale, her eyes darting around the apartment, as if she expected to find me tied up in a corner. "Mom!" Alicia gasped, rushing forward but stopping short when she saw Mr. Friedman. "Oh my God! Are you okay? We heard the house sold. We have been trying to call you for 48 hours. "Hello, Alicia," I said. I did not stand up. "I am fine. I simply changed my number." "Changed your number?" Marcus barked, stepping into the room. He looked at the view, then at the furniture, assessing the value. "Mom, you sold the estate? Why? Who is managing the money? Did someone trick you into this?" He glared at Mr. Friedman. "Who are you? If you are taking advantage of my mother, I swear to God I will have your license." "I am Arthur Friedman," my lawyer said calmly. "And I assure you, Mr. Washington, your mother is quite capable of managing her own affairs." "She is 62. Alicia cried, tears welling up in her eyes, tears that looked suspiciously rehearsed. "She is vulnerable. Mom, why didn't you tell us? We would have helped you. We would have handled the sale for you." "I am sure you would have," I said dryly. "Please, sit down. Both of you." They sat on the edge of the sofa, looking uncomfortable. They looked at Barnaby, who let out a loud snore. "What is that?" Alicia asked, wrinkling her nose. "That is Barnaby," I said. "He lives here." "You got a dog?" Marcus scoffed. "A bulldog? Mom, you can barely walk without your back hurting. Who is taking care of this thing?" "We will get to that," I said. "You are here because of the house sale. Let us not pretend otherwise." "We are here because we care about you," Marcus insisted, though his eyes kept drifting to Mr. Friedman's briefcase. "But yes, obviously, the sale raises questions. That is a significant amount of capital, Mom. It needs to be invested properly. I have a fund in San Francisco that is outperforming the market. If we transfer the assets there, I can protect them for you. And I know a wealth management team in New York," Alicia added quickly. "They handle all the top philanthropists. They can set up an endowment. It would look great for the family name." "The family name," I repeated. "Interesting that you care about the family name now. You did not seem to care much about it last Thanksgiving." The room went quiet. Marcus shifted in his seat. "Mom, come on. That was a misunderstanding. We were stressed. We needed a break, but we are here now. We are ready to re-engage." "Re-engage," I said, tasting the corporate buzzword on my tongue. "Like a business merger." "We are family," Alicia whispered. "We love you." "I called this meeting," I said, looking at Mr. Friedman, "because there has been a reallocation of assets following the sale of the estate. And since you are my biological children, I felt you should know how the inheritance has been structured." Their eyes lit up. They sat up straighter. This was it. The payout. Finally. Marcus exhaled. "Okay, let's hear it. How is it split?" Mr. Friedman cleared his throat. He opened his briefcase. The click of the latches echoed in the silent room. He pulled out a thick document bound in blue paper. "This," Mr. Friedman announced, "is the charter for the Barnaby Living Trust." "The what?" Marcus asked, frowning. "The Barnaby Living Trust," Friedman repeated. "It is an irrevocable trust established under Washington state law." "Okay," Alicia said slowly. "And who is the beneficiary?" I leaned forward. I reached out and patted the bulldog's massive, wrinkly head. Barnaby groaned in his sleep and kicked his back leg. "He is," I said. Marcus blinked. He looked at me. He looked at the dog. He looked back at me. Then he laughed. It was a nervous, high-pitched sound. "Good one, Mom. Seriously. You got a dog. Cute. Now, what is the real plan?" "This is the real plan, Mr. Washington," Friedman said. "Your mother has liquidated all her real estate assets and the majority of her investment portfolio. The total sum, approximately $8 million, has been deposited into this trust." "$8 million?" Alicia breathed. "The trust document stipulates," Friedman continued, reading from the page, "that these funds are to be used exclusively for the care, maintenance, comfort, and luxury of the primary beneficiary, Barnaby the English Bulldog." "You are joking." Marcus stood up. His face was turning red. "You cannot be serious. You gave $8 million to a dog?" "Not to the dog," Friedman corrected. "To the trust. The trust pays for his food, his medical care, his housing, and his staff." "Staff?" Alicia shrieked. "He is an animal. He requires a lot of care," I said calmly. "He has skin allergies, he likes fresh steak, and he needs a full-time companion." "And who is that?" Marcus demanded. "You? You are going to spend $8 million on steak?" "No," I said. "I am just his guardian. The trust also appoints a salaried trustee and caretaker to ensure Barnaby's standard of living is maintained in perpetuity. That person receives a salary of $100,000 a year, plus housing benefits and tuition reimbursement." "Who?" Marcus shouted. "Who is scamming you, Mom?" "Who is it?" I nodded to the hallway. "Jessica, you can come in." Jessica walked into the living room. She was wearing a clean, professional blazer and jeans. She looked healthy, she looked happy, and she was holding Barnaby's favorite chew toy. "Hello," Jessica said softly. "Who is this?" Alicia looked her up and down with disdain. "This is Jessica Miller," I said. "She is a veterinary student. She is the one who saved Barnaby. She is the one who checked on me when you didn't. She is the one who fixed my light bulbs and made me tea when I was crying over you." "She is the trustee," Friedman confirmed. "Miss Miller has full discretion over the funds to ensure the dog's happiness." "This is insanity," Marcus yelled. He pointed a shaking finger at me. "You have lost your mind. I am going to sue you. I will have you declared incompetent. No judge in the world will let you leave $8 million to a drooling mutt while your own children get nothing." "Actually," Friedman interjected coolly, "pet trusts are fully legal and enforceable in 46 states, including Washington. And as for your mother's competency," he pulled out another file. "We had Mrs. Washington evaluated by 3 independent psychiatrists last week. They all certified she is of sound mind and acting of her own free will. Any challenge to this trust will drain your own personal resources, Marcus, not the estate's. And judging by your credit report, you do not have the resources to fight us." Marcus went pale. "You checked my credit?" "I check everything," I said. "I know about the bridge loans, Marcus. I know about the maxed-out cards." I turned to Alicia. "And I know your gala lifestyle is funded entirely by debt." Alicia started to cry again, but this time it was real. It was the tears of someone watching their lifeline get cut. "Mom, please," she begged. "You can't do this. We are your children. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It means everything," I said. "It means I raised you. It means I loved you. It means I sat at a table set for 3 last Thanksgiving and waited for you while the food went cold." I stood up. My back didn't hurt as much as it used to. Maybe it was the yoga Jessica taught me. Or maybe it was just the relief of finally standing up for myself. I walked over to the side table and picked up my phone. I opened the saved photo of the text message. "Do you remember this?" I asked, holding the screen up to their faces. They stared at it. The words they had written so carelessly. "We need distance from you. Stop contacting us completely. You sent this on Thanksgiving," I said. "You broke my heart with a text message because you were too cowardly to say it to my face. You wanted distance. You wanted me out of your lives." I lowered the phone. "Well," I said, "I am giving you exactly what you asked for." "Mom," Marcus started. "No," I cut him off. "I respected your request. I stopped contacting you. And now, I have ensured that we will have distance permanently. The money provided a connection, a tether. You only came back today because you thought the tether was pulling you toward a payout." I looked at Barnaby, who had woken up and was chewing contentedly on his toy. "I cut the tether," I said. "Barnaby is my family now. Jessica is my family. You two? You are just people I used to know." "You are choosing a dog over us?" Alicia screamed. "I am choosing loyalty," I said. "I am choosing love that doesn't come with conditions. Barnaby has never asked me for a loan. He has never been too busy to sit with me. He just loves me." I turned to the door. "Get out of my house," I said. "Mom, you can't be serious," Marcus stammered. "Where are we supposed to go? I was counting on this. I have investors waiting." "I suggest you tell them the deal fell through," I said. "Or maybe ask them for distance. It worked wonders for me." Mr. Friedman stood up and gestured to the door. "I think the meeting is concluded." "The doorman will escort you out." Marcus looked at me one last time. He looked at the luxury condo. He looked at the checkbook sitting on the table that he would never touch. Hate radiated off him, hot and ugly. "You will die alone," he spat. "You know that, right? When you get sick, that girl isn't going to care. That dog isn't going to care. You will die alone." If you want to see what happens when arrogant children realize they have lost the game, if you believe that family is about how you treat people, not just DNA, hit that subscribe button, because Marcus was wrong. I wasn't going to die alone. I was going to live. "I would rather die alone with a dog who loves me," I said softly, "than live with children who only love my money. Goodbye, Marcus." They left. The door clicked shut behind them. The silence returned to the apartment, but this time, it wasn't heavy. It wasn't lonely. Barnaby let out a small bark. Jessica smiled at me, a genuine, teary smile. "Are you okay, Mrs. Washington?" she asked. I took a deep breath. I looked at the view of the Puget Sound, the ferry boats cutting through the dark water. "I am better than okay, Jessica," I said. "I am free." They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I discovered that true justice is best served with a side of ironclad legal paperwork and a side order of silence. Marcus and Alicia did not go quietly into the night. For the first 3 months after the meeting in my condo, they fought like trapped animals. They hired a lawyer, a discount attorney they found on a billboard, because no reputable firm would take their case on contingency. They filed a motion to contest the Barnaby Living Trust. They claimed I was under undue influence. They claimed Jessica was a con artist. They claimed Barnaby was just a dog and therefore could not hold property. Mr. Friedman enjoyed every minute of it. He called me one afternoon while I was sitting on my balcony, watching the ferries cross the Puget Sound. "Lorraine," he said, his voice chuckling over the line, "I just left the preliminary hearing. The judge actually laughed. Not a polite chuckle, Lorraine, a belly laugh." "Tell me," I said, sipping my tea. "Their lawyer tried to argue that you were suffering from a delusion that the dog was your biological child," Friedman said. "I simply presented the affidavit from your psychiatrist, the video recording of the meeting where you clearly stated the dog was a dog, and this is the best part. I submitted a printout of their Thanksgiving text message into evidence." "You didn't," I gasped. "I did," Friedman said. The judge read it. He looked at their lawyer and asked, "So, let me get this straight. These adult children demanded distance, received distance, and are now suing because that distance included the checkbook?" He dismissed the motion with prejudice. "They cannot file again. It is over. Lorraine." It was over legally, but the fallout was just beginning. Without the safety net of the Bank of Mom, Marcus's house of cards collapsed. I heard through the grapevine, which in Seattle is a very small, very chatty vine, that his venture capital firm quietly asked him to resign. Apparently, without his own capital to bridge the gaps, he was no longer a partner, but a liability. He had to sell his condo in San Francisco. He moved into a studio apartment in Oakland with 2 roommates. He drives a used sedan now. I wonder if he checks his watch when his roommates talk to him. Alicia fared no better. The gala invites stopped coming when the donations stopped flowing. She tried to pivot her brand to something about minimalism and starting over, but the internet is cruel. People found out she had been cut off. The likes dried up. She had to get a job. A real job. She is working as a receptionist at a dental office in Queens. She answers phones all day. She has to be polite to people she used to look down on. I hope she thinks of me every time a phone rings and she has to answer it. As for me, I did not stay in the condo. Once the legal battles were settled, I realized I did not want to look at the Seattle rain anymore. I wanted to see the sun. I bought an RV. It is not just any RV. It is a 40-foot luxury motorhome with heated floors, a king-sized bed, and a special ramp for Barnaby. I asked Jessica if she wanted to see the country before she started her final year of vet school. "Are you serious?" she asked, her eyes wide. "I have never left Washington State." "Pack your bags," I said. "Barnaby wants to see the Grand Canyon." We left in June. The 3 of us, an old woman, a young student, and a flatulent bulldog, have been on the road for 6 months now. We have seen the red rocks of Sedona. We have seen the geysers of Yellowstone. We have watched the sunrise over the Smoky Mountains. Jessica drives most of the time. She is a good driver. She sings along to the radio, terrible pop songs that Barnaby seems to love. He sits on a special orthopedic bed on the dashboard, watching the world fly by, barking at cows. Jessica finished her veterinary degree online while we traveled, doing her clinical hours at shelters we visited along the way. She graduated last week. I threw her a party at a campground in Colorado. We hung streamers from the awning of the RV. I bought her a stethoscope engraved with her name, Dr. Jessica Miller. She cried. She hugged me so hard I thought my ribs would crack. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for being my daughter," I whispered back. It was the first time I had said it out loud, and it felt right. Tonight, we are parked in a forest in Oregon, near the coast. The air smells of pine needles and salt water. I am sitting in a folding chair by a campfire. The fire is crackling, sending orange sparks up into the black sky. Barnaby is asleep at my feet. He is snoring, a low, rumbling sound that used to annoy me but now sounds like peace. He is wearing a fleece sweater because the night is chilly. He looks ridiculous. He looks loved. I have a glass of wine in my hand. My phone is in my pocket. It is on silent. I pulled it out earlier today to check the time, and I saw a notification. It was an email from Alicia. The subject line was, "Mom, please read." I did not open it. I know what it says. It says she is sorry. It says she misses me. It says she made a mistake. And I believe her. I believe she is sorry. I believe she misses the money. I believe she realizes that she threw away a diamond because she thought she was too good to carry it. But I am not going to reply. I deleted the email. I looked at the fire. I looked at Jessica, who was roasting a marshmallow on a stick, laughing as it caught fire. I realized something profound out here on the road. Family is not about whose blood runs in your veins. It is about who holds your hand when you are scared. It is about who sits with you when you are lonely. It is about who changes the light bulb so you don't fall in the dark. My children wanted distance. They wanted me to stop contacting them. They wanted to live their lives without the burden of my presence. I gave them exactly what they asked for. And in doing so, they gave me the greatest gift of my life. They set me free. They freed me from the obligation of loving people who did not love me back. They freed me to find the people and the dog who did. I reached down and scratched Barnaby behind the ears. He groaned and leaned into my hand. "You are a good boy, Barnaby," I whispered. "You are the best investment I ever made." Jessica looked over at me, her face illuminated by the firelight. "Are you happy, Lorraine?" she asked. I took a sip of wine. I looked up at the stars, millions of them, bright and unclouded by the city lights. "I am," I said. "I am finally happy. If this story made you smile, If you believe that loyalty is worth more than DNA, and if you are glad that Barnaby is living his best life eating steak by a campfire, hit that like button. Share this story with someone who needs to know that it is never too late to start over. And remember, be careful what you text your mother. You might just get exactly what you asked for. I am Lorraine Washington. I am a mother, a traveler, and the proud guardian of the richest bulldog in America. And I am signing off. Goodbye.